Hello, 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 hello. Good evening. Hope everyone is having a great Saturday, summer evening. And thank you for joining me for a little historical mystery time. I haven't been on in a while because I've been a bit under the weather, so I figured, let me jump on at this last minute here and talk about something that I thought was pretty interesting. But before I do that, let me say hello to everyone. Tommy, thank you for being here. Adam, arm distance. And Paul C. I saw Maureen was here. Thank you guys for jumping on at the last minute here. I don't know what else is going on YouTube, but I figured why not? I'm going to do my thing and see if anyone's interested. So, hi, Arlene. How are you? I normally do, or I try to do ghost stories. So this one is not really a ghost story, but there is a ghost connotation towards the end. This is more of a historical mystery that, there's parts of it that will never be solved. So to me, that's very interesting. For something to go unsolved for almost 250 years is pretty amazing to me. But anyway, what's really interesting about this particular story is that there are a couple of renditions. There's a couple of theories, and I have my own, and I'll tell you why I think the way I do. So let's start with the story itself. And then towards the end, as we get into it, I'll tell you a little bit more about my theory. But this story is about the murder of Jane McCrea. Now, Jane McCrea was born in 1752 in Bedminster, New Jersey. And she was the daughter of a Presbyterian minister. And like many young ladies at that time, when she was in her 20s, she was courted by a young man by the name of Davy Jones. And not Davy Jones from the Monkees, obviously, but Davy Jones from the 1770s in Bedminster, New Jersey. So our story begins, or the real story begins, is when the Revolutionary War breaks out. And like many parts of the country, or of the colonies, I should say, houses were divided. Some people went for the British, they were loyalists, and some people went for the Patriots and fought for the American cause. Well, this little community here in Bedminster, New Jersey, was no different than any place else. Now, Jane's father was, as I said, was a Presbyterian minister, and being anti-violence was basically for the crown. He's for England. He was against the revolution. But her brothers, she had a couple of brothers. Her brothers were filled with revolutionary fire, and for freedom and individual freedom, and they joined the Patriots. Now, Jane's fiance, I guess, as you'd call it at the time, Davy Jones, was a very loyal British subject. So he goes at that time to join the British in the British Army. He joins as a loyalist regular. So he joins the British and he moves to New York, upstate New York, where there are forts. Fort Edward is one of which, one of those forts. And he actually goes into Canada, I believe, to join Johnny Burgoyne. Now, if you know anything about the Revolutionary War, General John Burgoyne. Hi, Antonella. Thank you for joining. General John Burgoyne was one of Britain's main generals, and he's famous for the Battle of Saratoga, which he loses. But he was very famous. They called him Gentleman Johnny Burgoyne. Now, one of the things about him that is important to the story is that he was known for using Native American Indian tribes for his cause. In other words, he'd pay them to fight on the side of the British. And one of the pretty sinister and evil things he would pay them to do would be to raid American villages, to just cause chaos, cause destruction, and cause people to be afraid and not join the patriot cause. But what he did not realize, or maybe didn't even care about, was that it was very hard to control these tribes. And one tribe in particular was the Ottawa Indians, who were basically in Canada, but they spread across most of the Northeast at times. They were part of the they weren't part of the Iroquois, I don't believe. No, I think the Iroquois were separate from the Iroquois, but the Ottawa tribe were often hired to do raids. And also something that Burgoyne would do is he'd pay for scalps. So if they came back with scalps, he would pay them for it. So that really encouraged Indians to go out on raid and take scalps and bring them back to get money. So this is all a backdrop to the story. So the actual story itself begins in 1777. Now at this time, Jane is writing to her fiancé, who is now in Burgoyne's army, and they're corresponding back and forth. And he's pleading with her to come north and join him. He wants to be with her, and he can't get away, obviously. He's signed up for the British military, and he wants to join them. He wants her to join him. She makes a move against her family's wishes. She moves to upstate New York in hopes of being closer to Davy Jones. And she stays with a woman by the name of Sarah McNeil, who had a house there. And how she meets Sarah McNeil, she was very friendly with Sarah McNeil's granddaughter. So Sarah McNeil's in her 70s at this time. And the granddaughter, Polly, became friends with Jane. So she arranges for Jane to stay with her grandmother. Now, ultimately, it's no surprise, as you see in the picture here, that she ends up getting killed by the Ottawa Indians. But the question really is what actually happened? No one really knows exactly what happened. And in fact, there's two storylines. And this is a very important event because many believe that her death and the outrage around her death spurred many colonists to join the revolutionary cause and may have turned the tide and resulted in an American victory at Saratoga in not too far after this, because there was such publicity about the atrocity and how the British allowed this to go on, or impossibly ordered it, or whatever. It's all about propaganda, wartime propaganda. But anyway, so this story, there's two stories. Now, the first story is that Davy Jones sends two Indian scouts, Ottawa Native American Indian scouts, to get her and bring her to him. So in other words, these two scouts are dispatched and paid to go and retrieve her and bring him to her. And in the process of doing so, coming back, they retrieve her, and they're supposed to take a passage north to take her to Davy Jones, past Fort Edward in Burgoyne's army. And in the process of this, they are ambushed by American militia. The American militia fires at the Indians and ends up shooting her by accident and killing her. Right. So that's one story, that it was a complete accident, and it wasn't even the Ottawa tribe that killed her. And in fact, what they do at that point is they scalp her and take her back, and because she's already dead, so they take the scalp back just to make money, because they figure they can't get anything for not returning her. So they'll just go in the normal course and hand in the scalp to Burgoyne and get money. So that's one theory. Now, that theory, there's no evidence around that, and I'll tell you why that is a little later on. But the second theory is, and this is where there's evidence to support this stuff, is that what happened was Burgoyne was sent out his little Ottawa raiding parties, and they got as far south as the town where Sarah McNeil's house was. And at that time, there was a raid going on. Now, at that time, they were raiding houses, stealing, doing whatever they're supposed to do, set fires, whatever they're doing. They come upon McNeil's house. The Ottawa tribe, a party of the Ottawa tribe, come around McNeil's house. McNeil and Sarah McCrea see them coming. They rush to the basement to hide. They now, and I'll tell you why this is more factual, but they go to the basement to hide. Unfortunately, what happens is Sarah McNeil gets stuck because she was rather large, and gets stuck going down into the basement. It was kind of like a fruit cellar. It wasn't really a basement, so you had to go down a ladder to get to it. She gets stuck there. The Indians see her, pull her back up, and in the process see Sarah standing there below as well, and then and obtains her. And they grab her and pull her up and take her captive as well. And the reason we know this part occurred is because there were two enslaved slaves of Sarah McNeil who had worked in the Sarah McNeil house, who escaped and told the story. So these were enslaved people that were working in the McNeil house hole, and they were hiding, and the Indians did not find them, and they escaped and told authorities what happened, told what had occurred. So basically, the story about these guides taking her north to meet her love is a complete fantasy. There's no evidence of this at all. So what happens is they take the two of them north, and their goal is to take them to sell them, because remember, they're here on a raid based on the British. So what they do in part of the raid is they raid towns, and anything they find, hostages they find, anything they steal, they'll steal. But anything hostages that they think are worth selling back to the British, they will. Now, the British weren't that bad. If there were women captured, they would buy them back from the Indians. They did not want them killed. The British did not order them to kill women and children. Women and children they would buy back from the Indians. So these Ottawa tribes, they're not stupid. They figure, we have women here. We can sell them to the British. Let's take them with us. So they take them north. Now, what happens is, hello, Carmela. How are you? Thank you for joining. So what happens is they never truly get, unfortunately, as they're going north, something occurs. No one knows exactly what, but something occurs which causes a split. In half of the raiding party takes Sarah in one direction, and half of the raiding party takes Jane in another. Now, Sarah ends up arriving in Fort Edward, to Burgoyne, not in Fort Edward, I'm sorry, to Burgoyne's army, and is bought back by the British. Jane never arrives. Now, what arrives, however, is two Ottawa scouts with a scalp, which is hers. Now, she was known to have very long, luxurious hair, so her scalp was very easily noticed. And Davy Jones notices it immediately, and to his horror, his wife to be is obviously dead. And what happens is he sets out from the encampment to find where she is, find her body, and they end up finding her scalped, and they bury her body. Now, um, so what happens? Why would the Indians kill her? That's really the issue. Why would they do this? Well, um, the theory about a random bullet shooting her and then is complete nonsense, and I'll tell you why. Because there's actual evidence of a letter from General Burgoyne to Horatio Gates, who was the American general there. They were corresponding back and forth. And Horatio Gates was protesting British atrocities, from gentleman to gentleman. At that time, there was something called gentlemanly warfare, where one side would plead to the officers of the other to control their men and to not be brutal against civilians, et cetera, et cetera. So Horatio Gates sends a letter to Burgoyne, and Burgoyne responds to this letter. Now, in Horatio Gates's, he brings up the Jane McCrea issue, and accuses Burgoyne of ordering this, etc., and causing this horrible death of this innocent woman. Now, Burgoyne's response is documented. This is an actual thing, and let me see if I can pull it up to you, because I actually found it online to show you that I'm not just supposing here. Here, I'll show you this, and it's kind of interesting here. Well, here, first of all, here's a picture of Burgoyne, Johnny Burgoyne. That's what he looked like. That's gentlemanly Johnny Burgoyne. All right. So let me show you something. This is the actual writing of his actual writing. Hold on here. Let me go down here and show you exactly where it is. This is between the correspondence between the two generals. Here it is, right here. And it says, in regard to Miss McCrea, her fall wanted not of the tragic display you have labored to give it, to make it as sincerely abhorrent and lamented by me as it can be by the tenderest of her friends. The fact was no premeditated barbarity. On the contrary, two chiefs who had brought her off for the purpose of security, not of violence to her person, disputed which should be her guard. And in a fit of savage passion, in the one whose hands she was snatched, the unhappy woman became the victim. Upon the first intelligence of this event, I obliged the Indians to deliver the murderer into my hands, and though to have punished him by our laws or principles of justice would have been perhaps unprecedented, he certainly would have suffered an ignominious death. And I had been convinced by circumstances and observation beyond the possibility of doubt that a pardon under the terms which I prescribed, and they accept it, would be more efficacious than an execution to prevent similar mischiefs. So what Burgoyne is saying here is that he sees that, he admits that it happened. He admits that Indians killed her. He admits that. If in fact it was a colonial musket ball that hit her, it would have been in Burgoyne's best interest to document that and write that. Because at the time there's a war of words, there's a war of propaganda. If he were to blame the Americans, that would have been perfect for him. He could have easily turned it around, but it was not even a thought in his head. It was clearly an Indian death caused, an Ottawa native death that it caused this woman. They were fighting over who was going to get it, who was going to get her the money for her. And as a result, who knows? And this is the part that goes to history, that phase into history. Nobody knows exactly what happened between these two Native and Indian scouts that caused this battle, or caused her to get killed. They obviously didn't want to kill her, because bringing her alive would have gotten them much more money than a scalp. But again, the savagery of the times, I guess. Maybe one won out over the other, and the other one was going to deprive him of it and kill her. I don't know, but it's such a horrible story. But the fact is that without a doubt, it's obvious to me that she was killed and scalped by the Ottawa raiding party that Burgoyne had sent south to cause havoc in the American frontier. So to that end, it's Burgoyne's fault, in my opinion. He deserves full credit for this innocent woman who just wanted to be with her, wanted to marry her in her fiance. She ends up dying because of British atrocities towards Americans. And that really is the bottom line. Um, so, for those to come up with a story about a colonial musket and whatever, I have no idea where that comes from. It's Hi Gina, how are you? Thanks for joining. Um, so yeah, so she was clearly a victim that died. So this argument occurs. One of them kills her, and they take the scalp back and try to pass it off as just a scalp that they've collected along the way. And as a result, she dies. So the bottom line is that she is, she's murdered, and there's this account of what exactly went on, between those in the field, so to speak, or in the forest. No one will ever know, because no one ever took the time to question or figure out from these Ottawa scouts exactly what occurred. And if they did, nobody documented it. So, but the story gets a little weirder as time goes on, because what happens is like I mentioned, she's buried on site where it occurred. And later on, over time, this area gets built up, and they built a house on that site, and they called the house the Jane McCrea site, and it's still there. The Jane McCrea house, and this was the original site at which she was buried. But what happens is, in 1822, she is dug up and moved. Her body's moved from that site, and it's moved to in that town, in the same town, to a cemetery on State Street. Why? I couldn't tell you, but probably be just because they didn't want random bodies buried all over the place, but they moved the body to an actual cemetery. And then that's not the only time it's dug up. Then in 1852, it's dug up again, and she's moved to a Union cemetery, a cemetery called Union Cemetery, inside Fort Edward, or just around Fort Edward. So she's moved again in 1842. Now, this is the creepy part, because what happens is, in the process of moving the body, her skull disappears. So some sick individual steals her skull, and her only thing that remains is her bones below her neck, which are buried and buried in this new plot. And now a third time she is exhumed. I mean, this is a modern exhumation. It was in 2003. They exhumed her body, and the reason they exhumed her body was to find out if there was any evidence that would determine, or matter of factly, to determine whether she was killed by the militia or killed by the Ottawa Indian natives. So she is exhumed, and again, but what they find two sets of bones, but her skull is not there. The other set of bones is determined to be Sarah McNeil. That's the woman that she originally stayed with, right? Who had died of natural causes, 10 years later. So, but what had happened was, they had buried her. They had buried Sarah McNeil in the same grave as Jane McCrea. So they dissect or reconstruct the two skulls, the two skeletons, to determine one, which was, by scientific methods, they were able to tell that it was an older woman, that it was someone in their 80s. So they could tell that was Sarah McCrea. And then the remaining bones, without a skull, were someone in their 20s. So that was Jane. But Now, there's no skull there, so they can't tell the scalping, right? There's no way to tell whether someone was scalped or not because the skull is missing. But what they can tell from the body, the skull, I mean the skeleton, is that she was not shot because at the time, when you were shot with a musket ball, it would undoubtedly hit some type of bone, and there would be some type of at least a nick in some type of bone from a musket shot. But there's no evidence of any type of damage to any of the bones at all. So there was no way she was hit by a musket ball. So it just goes to show that she was, again, it just goes to prove what logic tells. If you look at the evidence that she was killed by the Ottawas, she was not, she was not shot. She was scalped and tomahawked, unfortunately, which is a gruesome, horrible way. But that's what happened. It wasn't the colonialists that shot her. It was this. Um, um, let's see. Yeah, so that was 2003. Now, aside from that, you have the story of, and this science. I'm not sorry. Historians have argued as to whether the death of Jane McCrea really was that impactful on the revolution. Some say it really was, that it swelled the ranks of people volunteering to the patriot cause. Others say no, it didn't. There isn't the evidence to show that. I don't know. I really didn't look into that, or I really didn't have much of an interest in that, whether it swelled the ranks or it didn't swell the ranks. But the fact is it went down in history to the point where we have a house that has a marker on it, has a historical marker on it. It's called the Jane McCrea House, and we marked the site where she was actually killed. So was this a situation where, I mean, if you ask me, her death undoubtedly helped the revolution because it would have sent a message to loyalists, people that were supporting the British, that look, the British can't even protect a loyalist because she was considered to be a loyalist. She was going to marry a person in the British Army. And if the British cannot protect a loyalist from their savage warriors that they employ, why would we support them? Let's join the patriot cause. Let's get rid of them. There's no safety in supporting the British. You still get killed. So to me, I think her death was had a positive effect on the revolution. And yes, she was a martyr, Antonella. Absolutely, she was a martyr. And Adam, yeah, there were definitely people that lived into their 80s. Benjamin Franklin, for example, lived into his 80s. So there were definitely people. Usually the well-to-do, obviously, were the ones that lived into their 80s because they had an easier life. They didn't have the toil and the stress of trying to survive. The poor. The poor would only live to their 30s or 40s. But anyway, so there are some ghost stories that go along with McCrea. Over the years, there have been people that have alleged to have seen her ghost walking the area in the house, in the Jane McCrea house, or in Union Cemetery. Just your run of the mill ghost stories, nothing special. Just alleged sights of a woman dressed in colonial outfits, the spirit of a woman in colonial outfits wandering about, and and then in the house, there's plenty of accounts of noises, unexplained noises, doors slamming, lights flickering on and off, etc., stuff like that in the Joel McCrea house. People that have stayed there, so there is that ghost connotation, and I tell you what, I wouldn't blame the person's soul under the circumstances. She was moved around and zoomed, and no rest for this poor woman. And someone steals her skull. I mean, it's a pretty morbid and horrible type of story when you think about it. That such a thing would happen. But this whole event, if anyone is familiar with The Last of the Mohegans, James Fenimore Cooper, who was the author of that story, based it on this. He based the part on this actual historical event with Indian scouts taking women to the British, and things happening along the way. So that's an interesting fact that came out of this historical thing. So that's my story, and my conclusion is yes, the Ottawa Scouts killed her. They had a fight. They killed her, probably unintentionally, like I said, because logic would have been they wanted a live person to get more money from the British. Their whatever rage caused her to get killed, and then they decided to gain whatever money they could by scalping her, because that would give them some, at least some money, by bringing back a scalp, and the British would pay for it. So they're in and of itself is the problem with the whole British and how they were during the Revolutionary War. Very cruel, very um, easily committing atrocities against American colonists, and at the same time pretending to be I don't know what the word is, but loyal to the rules of war, so to speak, the gentlemanly war, but at the same time getting native tribes to do the dirty work for them. So it just goes to show the hypocrisy of the British during the Revolutionary War. Um, hey Ralph, how are you? Yeah, so that's it. So I don't know what else is going on. That's my theory. I mean, that's my conclusion, I should say. It's a horrible story, but it's a story that could have changed the tide, because the Americans do beat the British at Saratoga, and it was a major battle win. At the time, things were not looking well for the revolutionary cause at the time. If Burgoyne had won the Battle of Saratoga, he would have been able to cut off the northern colonies from the mid and southern colonies. That would not have been good. But instead, he's defeated and he surrenders an entire British army. So it's and a lot of people, like I said, credit this to the martyrdom of Jane McCrea. It brought people to the cause, and as a result, we win American independence eventually. So that's my story for tonight, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's an interesting type of tidbit that you really don't learn in school. I never learned about it in school. And I'm a person that enjoys history and looks for unique histories to talk about. Let me show you, if you guys are still around, let me show you what the Jane McCrea house looks like. I found a picture of it, and you can actually visit the Jane McCrea house if you had any desire to do it. Let's see, here we go. Here are some pictures of the Jane McCrea house. It's marked 1777. It has one of those historical signs in front of it. New York State historical marker. And it said Fort Edward, New York. So it's an interesting old looking house. Looks like it could be haunted. And I'd like to go visit it myself, actually. I love going to historical sites. So, one day maybe I will go and take a look at it. I don't know what wise guy Ralphie is saying. Were you in school? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. So let's see. Let me just let me get this off. Get this out of here. So that's the Jane McCrea house, in case anyone's interested. Yeah, Adam, that's correct. Didn't offend anyone. Now, I guess you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do a lot of things, unfortunately. This is not really a free country anymore, but that's a different story. But these are facts. You can't dispute facts. As much as people try to change them, in fact, the whole alternate story here, the alternate storyline here is probably just another attempt to people to change things. They want to make it look like it wasn't as bad as it was, because they look to paint a picture that was prettier for the Native Americans. Now, why people think that Native Americans are different than anyone else is beyond my comprehension. They're people, so they're going to be evil like any other people. There's evil people all over the place. Every culture has evil people, and they're going to do evil things. So to paint a picture that they weren't is absurd, in my opinion. But that's a different story. It's a different issue, I guess, so to speak. But But that's the that's the story. And war was war, and brutality was brutality. And we most things are born from brutality, right? The country was this country was born through brutal things. And unfortunately, that's how it goes. Um, so I don't know what's everyone else doing this evening. Anybody doing anything interesting? Just hanging out like me, convalescing after being under the weather. Not doing much of anything. Talking a bit of history. I like doing that. Yep. Yeah, Tommy, brutal story. You know, um, and like I said, Last of the Mohegans, great movie, by the way. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. I watched that movie so many times. Um, and I'm talking about the modern one. It's been the story's been done in movie form several times over the years, but the one that I like is the most modern one, which I think was a '92 movie. It was 1992 or '96, sometime around that. I don't know. Great movie. Oh, thank you, Antonella. Yeah, I'm getting there. I am getting there. Excellent point, Adam. You're absolutely right. The brutality was part of their lives. They lived in a wilderness, and it's absurd to pretend it's not. It's totally absurd to pretend it's not. Tribes enslaving other tribes, common, very very common. Anyone who knows history knows that. One tribe would attack another and enslave the inhabitants. So this revisionist history, I totally reject. It's nonsense. Thank you, Gina. Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there, a little at a time. Getting there. uh, but that's why I haven't been on much. That's why I haven't been on. I didn't do a wine tasting this week. Just been checking in shows, not really participating in the chat. I just didn't have the energy for it. So, but a quick advertisement tomorrow at 2 p.m. We are continuing the Godfather discussion. This one should be fun. Hi, Tammy. Hi, how are you? Didn't know you were here. Yeah, Godfather story, Godfather scene 2, the wedding, Connie's wedding. That will be the discussion tomorrow at 2 p.m. Please join us if you can. It should be a good one. Myself, Tommy, Stiggs, and Thindu. Yeah, Tammy. A lot of stories. Good. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing. I mean, listen, I am a great admirer of the Native American tribes. I really am. They fascinate me. They fascinate me. I just don't like when people whitewash things and rewrite things. Um, but their word of mouth history fascinates me. So there's a lot of things, a lot of history there that's really untold. That's and it the bottom line is that they were people, and I say this over and over again. People are people, no matter where they are, no matter what they look like, and they will do the same things. The brutality of Europe with countries killing each other, the same thing happened here with tribes. It's the same thing. People are people. This is what they do, unfortunately. So I don't do alien abductions, Ralph. That's your job. You can handle that nonsense. I don't do that type of abduction. I do real abductions, not alien abductions. Nor would I waste Congress's time on alien, discussions like they did recently, which I think was ridiculous. Right, Antonella. They took each other's land. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. In fact, people don't talk about this, but this is documented. the Iroquois Nation, which were 5 nations of Indians in the East. They waged a war. They waged a war of extermination against the Algonquin tribes. They tried to eliminate and kill off everyone in that tribe. It had nothing to do with European intrusion. So don't buy into that nonsense. This was before Europeans got here. Same thing happened in the Southwest. Same thing happened in the Southwest where you had the Comanche who tried to wipe out and commit genocide against the Apache, tried to destroy every single Apache in existence. And this has nothing to do with white people or European theology or anything like any of that nonsense they try to throw at you. This is just people being people. Brutality is human nature that it's in every part of humanity, unfortunately. Yes, Antonella, I agree completely. The whole UFO nonsense is absurd. I can't believe that Congress is having some guy get up there and say that, oh, he saw dead bodies or and he's testifying to this. And then when they ask him where it is, oh, I can't tell you. I mean, like, what type of lunacy is this? Is this a cartoon? Like, what is going on here? This is what we're spending money on? The economy is in the tank. And this is what we're doing. Inflation is through the roof, and we're worried about alien invaders. I mean, it's hard to believe. It really is. It's crazy. Crazy stuff. But it's a distraction, right? If you look at it that way, it's a distraction. It's let's give them something to worry about so they won't look at what we're actually doing, right? Let's focus on alien invasion so that they won't worry about how much money they're spending in the grocery store each week and how we could deal with that, but we're not. Let's it's a sad state of affairs. That's all I have to say about that. It's a sad state of affairs. I think you're right, Adam. We're gonna look like imbeciles. Hundreds of years from now, people are gonna say, "What on earth? What the hell was going on there? What was going on?" That this is what they're doing. This is what they were doing. You know, it's just I don't know. I don't know. And this is not a political. I don't do politics. I don't go into the political realm. I don't because there's no point in it. I'm just making a commentary on something that's happening, which was the dumb alien nonsense, and the fact that I just think it's just an indication of how the institution of Congress and government has been downgraded tremendously. That this is what's going on there. At one point, it used to be considered, a point of honor or a place of honor to get elected and be part of the Senate or be part of the Congress or to be a president or to be a Secretary of State. I don't think it has that connotation anymore. It has been downgraded so much. These people don't act with honor. They don't act with integrity. They don't act with class, and we all suffer for it. Hi, Gina. Yeah, Johnny. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, thank you for joining. No, Tommy, it's not nonsense. It's reality. It's not nonsense. It's absolute reality. Whether people like it or not, that's the way it is. So anyway, so for those that want aliens, you can always go to Ralph's show. He'll talk about aliens. I'm not going to talk about. I'm not going to play alien pictures or alien videos or whatever it is. But so the ghost of Jane McCrea is I've seen and this is just an aside. I have seen that there was some supposed picture of this, which I could not find though. I've seen connotations on the internet about a picture of the ghost of Jane McCrea, but I couldn't find it anywhere. I couldn't find where this picture might be because if I could find it, I'd show it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I don't know what that is. It might be something that someone just wrote out of nowhere, and who the heck knows? I don't know. I don't know. But I'm always interested in ghost stuff. Ghost things. I love ghost stuff. That just that's to me that's fun. Ghost investigations and such is fun. I don't get into the aliens, but I like ghosts. I like that type of stuff. To me, that's more interesting. I think that's more plausible from my perspective. And whatever it might be, whether it's a memory of of something that occurred in the past, or whether it's an active, spirit talking to people, that's all just fascinates me. And when those ghost stories, those ghost programs used to come on, I don't even know if they're still on. I haven't watched them in years. I used to watch those things. I enjoyed watching those things. I watched Ghost Hunters or whatever those shows used to be. I enjoyed watching them. Um, people forget the military is 50 plus years advanced from anything that the UFOs everyone thinks they're seeing. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, Adam. That's a very plausible explanation. Why would the government tell you? Why would the government share military things, military advancements? They would not. They'd want to keep that secret, and you may see it, right? You may happen to see it, and of course, they're not going to tell you that, right? And the bottom line is that the you know I do believe that it's possible to have life on other planets. I mean, the universe is so vast, right? It's so big that in a mathematical sense, it's probable that there's life someplace else. Very true. But we know there's no life within traveling distance. We know that. We know that from our own, concrete evidence. So I just don't buy it that someone's going to fly from, someone's going to have the technology to get here from another galaxy, or, and then they're just going to fly around. They're not going to make contact. They're just going to fly around here and, and shoot back and forth in the sky and do nonsense like that and then go back. It's just dumb. It's just a dumb concept. It makes no sense to me. um, the conclusion there were no conclusions, Tommy. It was nonsense. There was no conclusions. It was just this guy talking. It was just this guy telling his account. There were no conclusions of it. That's the point, right? That's the point of why it's silly and stupid. You know, there's no conclusion to it. He didn't have any evidence. He didn't present any evidence. It's just his testimony. No, I didn't watch it either. I didn't watch it at all, Tommy. I just followed the news articles. I did not watch it. I wouldn't waste my time watching that. That's a complete waste of time. I have much better things to do. I'd rather talk to you guys on YouTube than watch that nonsense. That's horrible, horrible stuff to watch. Yeah, weather balloon, right? And anytime they have anytime they're testing some type of military military advancement, they call it a weather balloon. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's all that unexplained stuff is. It's military secrets, is what it is. Right, exactly, arms, right. Why That's my point. Why would they be why wouldn't they make contact? Why would they just like zoom around in the sky and vanish? Oh, let's zoop here and there and fly around and go away. Yeah, it's dumb. It's just a dumb concept. Well, Adam, why is Ralph? You can do a show on it, right? Why don't you do a show on the hearings? Then I don't know if it was that much fun. It was that much fun to do a show on it. I don't know. I didn't like it at all. Yeah, they're gonna go. They're gonna come to do. They're gonna come to clean the toilets, Tommy. The aliens. The aliens are gonna come in and they're gonna sign up to clean the toilets and work in the restaurants. That's what they're gonna do. The only thought I have about aliens is here's my thought is if they okay, it's possible. I do believe it's possible that they could exist. But my theory is that they would look and act just like us. I don't know about act, but they would look like us because I think everything in the universe is based on a certain programming. And I think if people evolved here this way, my guess is they would evolve the same way someplace else. That's just my theory. So the green men thing isn't, I don't believe in. I don't buy into the little green men or the big green men or 8 feet green men or 2 feet green men or whatever the heck it is. I don't buy into that. I think that there are certain universal standards, meaning the way things evolve, the way the way ecology evolves, and the way I think the same thing would happen someplace else. So I think if there were aliens or if there are aliens, they're probably similar to us. They're not these weird looking creatures that people, tell stories about. um yeah, to know that's a good question. I mean, that's a good point. I despise AI. That scares the crap out of me. That's scary. That is some scary, scary stuff. Not because not of what it's doing now, but what it will do as it continues to evolve and grow. That's what scares the crap out of me. So, well, I don't know about the Bible, Ralph. I mean, I don't know. I guess that, yeah, it could be, but I'm not even thinking about it from a biblical or religious context. I'm thinking about it from a um, evolutionary standpoint, and what Einstein and others, there's certain universal norms, that are everywhere, things that happen, mathematics and everything calculates into following a certain pattern. And I think the same pattern would occur elsewhere. Just because it's on another planet, I would think it would be similar to us. May not be exact because there's different variables, like climate and stuff like that might be a little bit different, right? That stuff might alter things a bit. But the descriptions of some of these aliens that people see, it makes no sense to me. Like, why? What would be the reason for such? What would be the reason for that? It doesn't. I don't buy that reason. um, yeah, AI. I agree. Arm distance. It's getting out of control. You know, it's if you see those videos of those robots, that scares the crap out of me. Those robots that they were able to engineer to walk like humans, and bounce around and gain their balance. You take that and then you put artificial intelligence into them. What is that going to be? Like that's scary. And absolutely, Antonella, they are taking jobs. I see it day to day. I see AI is always looked at in my environment as a way to look for a more cost effective and simpler way to do things, right? AI. That's what they look for. That's one of the options. When they look to save money, they look at AI, and that usually ends up with jobs for people being eliminated. So, I mean, that's the drawback, right? Why we'd want to go in that direction, I don't get. I mean, yeah, money is the issue, I guess, right? Saving money is the issue, but um, the cost is too much, if you ask me. I mean, what are people going to do? What are people going to do? There's going to be no jobs. That's what we risk. We risk that. Hi, Bella. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Yeah. So, again, please tune in for the Godfather discussion tomorrow. It should be fun. I just rewatched it and I pulled out my book and looked at it, looked at the book. And it's funny because if you watch, a lot of times people say, oh, the book is better. And I think that's true for a lot of times because the book is more detailed, right? The book is more detailed than movies. You can't have a movie that's exactly like the book. Too much detail in the book. You'd have a 12-hour movie, right? No one's going to sit through that. But in the context of what we're going to talk about tomorrow, which is the wedding scene, you see more in the movie than you get in the book. And I don't know why that is, but it is. Like there isn't much in terms of the detailed description of the actual wedding in the book as there is in the wedding. I mean, I mean, in the movie, you're seeing it in living color. You're seeing it. You're experiencing it in living color in the movie. The movie itself, I think, is the wedding scene is an exception. That's the better. It's better than the book. So that's just a little tidbit for you guys if you're interested. I don't know how many of you read the book compared to the movie, but that's my opinion on that. Ralph, all they have to do is shut the phone off on our kids, and they probably won't make it through the night. Yeah, well, you know what? You know what, Adam? It's yeah, but it's beyond the kids now. It's everyone's addicted to their phone, right? Everyone is addicted to their phone. And it's not even a phone, right? The phone is really a little computer, right? Your phone is a little computer. It's not even a phone. You don't even talk on your phone. How often do you talk on your phone? You're typing in it or you're looking up stuff on it. It's a mini computer we all carry around with us. We're dependent on it, you know. I agree, Ralph. The adults have bought into it. It's not just a kid thing anymore. I mean, the kids have grown up with it, right? So it's inherent to them. But adults have just we've gone. It's the world now. I don't know how we wouldn't do it. I don't know how you wouldn't do it, right? How could you not? It's everywhere. It's become so much part of our existence at this point. Yeah, make a fire, right, Adam? Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I teach my kids that stuff. I teach them non-reliance. I do my best to teach them non-reliance on technology. I don't know what everybody else does, but that's what I do. But I tell you what, though, we all sit back and we all poo-poo the internet, and I'm famous for that, right? I'm always saying that the internet is bad. The and more so, social media is bad than the internet. I think social media, to me, the evils of social media outweigh the goods, but the good of it. But there's so much good that can come from it. There's so much information just on YouTube alone. There's so much information on it. Just think about it. If you want to find out how to do something, all you have to do is go on YouTube. There will probably be a video instructing you step by step on how to do it. I mean, to me, that's great. That's great. To me, that's a positive. The whole how to do things on YouTube is a very positive addition to social media, I guess, if you want to call YouTube. I guess it's social media. Yeah, YouTube is social media. I don't think it started out as such. Because I don't even know if the chat function was always on YouTube. I think it might not have been originally. So, but yeah, use it for the positive. That's what I always say. Use it for the positives of it. They're there, so let's use it for that. Let's use it to figure out how to do things. Let's figure out how to make ourselves smarter. Let's figure out, the right way to do things. Let's not fall into the negativeness of social media and the internet. The keyboard warriors, etc., and all that stuff. Let's not do that. Let's just not buy into it, right? Let's just ignore it. Unfortunately, the kids, it's a different story. I don't know how you do that. I think most of we all grew up with bullying in one way or the other. But I think it's 100 times worse with the internet. And that's what kids have to deal with. And just think about it. When we were growing up, if you were bullied, you could always go home and get away from it, right? And that was it. And if you were bullied, you saw it. The person that bullying you, obviously you experienced it. The person that was bullying, maybe a couple of people saw it. Now this bullying takes place on social media, so the world sees it, and people can't get away from it. It's just horrible. It is just plain horrible. How do you get away from it? I have no idea. Who was it that said, "Give me one generation and I can rule the world"? I don't know, Adam. That's a good question. I don't know who said that. Well, you can Google it, right? You can look it up and find out. Put it in and see what. Let's use it for something you want to know, right? You want to know something, use it for that. Yeah, but the point is, Ralph, you can't do that now, right? You can't like these are people that are bullying you that you can't even get in contact with them, right? They're like they're they're people that you've never seen. They're people that you don't know. They're people that you can't fight against, right? And these people can sit there and 24/7 make your life miserable because everyone's and the only reason they can do that is because everyone's locked into this matrix of social media, right? If people weren't, it would mean they'd be yelling in an echo chamber. If people weren't buying into this stuff, they would you'd take the power away from them because they would be preaching, their nonsense, their negativity to no one. No one would care. So it's it's um it's a tough thing to grow up with, I think, for kids. It's a tough thing to grow up with. Exactly, arms. People will abuse anything. You give people anything, they will figure out a way to abuse it. They certainly will. You know, the only positive I see in social media is, there's positives in YouTube the way we use it, I think, because we meet people, like-minded people, and we entertain each other and we have a good time. But, like, the negatives of it, with the trolling, that type of stuff, the negatives of it, that's the problem. The negative, the back and forth the attack videos and all that other fun stuff. And people think that's fun. I don't watch it, don't tune into it, don't subscribe to it. It's a complete and total turn off to me. I don't know why more people aren't like that, but I guess drama, the whole drama sells thing, I guess. Right, Ralph, and that's why you're right, Ralph, and that's why I think it's worse. That's why I think it's worse because people can sit back and continually do this ad nauseum without any consequences. You know, and they have access, and they have the ability to compound the damage they do by reaching more people, spreading it around. That at least that's my opinion on that. So I think the little things that we do here, like Tommy and Theen do, and uh, you know, and Todd Father and Ralph, and and anyone who buys into our little community, for lack of a better word, we don't get into the battling. We don't have the drama. I think we're using this the right way. I think we're trying to do positive things with it. Sharing a historical story, to me, that's positive. Trying to entertain you with that, a mystery, is positive. Telling a ghost story is fun. You know, Sharing my knowledge about wine is a positive. Whether you like it, maybe you could use it to your benefit. Maybe you can do something. Oh, it was Lennon, Adam. Well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Um, yes, doing a wine tasting, having a little fun. Sharing my opinion, not because of out of arrogance, but out of just my opinion. You take it and do what you want with it. You, I never once say that I'm the authority on anything. I just sharing you what my experience is, and hopefully you'll take it and use it for whatever you use it for. That's a positive. Let me tell you something. The ones with the big mouths, a lot of them don't do anything. The quiet ones are the ones you watch out for, but some of those with the big mouths act. Yeah, yeah. I guess the same thing goes for YouTube, as in right in real life in that regard, right? Real life. That's. I think you're describing real life, and I agree with that assessment. I think, but probably YouTube is follows suit there. But I haven't experienced it, but that's fair to say that it does. And they would not talk that way to your face. They would not. So, I mean, that's why I say don't encourage. I tell people, don't encourage. Don't even listen to these shows. Don't even give them the views. And I know that this stuff pops up. I know that this stuff pops up in your feed, but don't listen to it. Ignore it. Pass it by. Right. Right, Ralph. And I know a lot of people tune into the drama shows and whatever. And I'm not judging you for it. I'm just saying before you do that, because I get it. I used to watch those shows. I did just to see what's going on. You want to see what's happening. You hear rumors, you hear people saying things. You want to see what's going on. But just think about it. If you don't listen to it or if you don't tune into it, you're probably helping things because you're giving less attention to it. If there's less attention, they're less likely to continue spreading the negativity. That's at least my opinion on it, for what it's worth. And that's why I don't subscribe and I don't follow, I don't go into chats, I don't do that stuff. Adam, that's just human nature, right? We all do that. We enjoy a fight, like, you know what I mean? You can't turn away from a train wreck. That's human nature, I know. I'm just saying, do your best to resist that, right? Because the benefits of us all resisting that outweigh the benefits of that momentary satisfaction of entertainment, right? That's at least that's what I believe. You guys do what you wish. Obviously, I would not. And like I said, I never judge anybody for anything they do. I'm just suggesting. I think we could have a better platform without that stuff. That's all. Hi, Gerard. How are you? I'm sorry you missed. You probably would have liked it. You would have liked this, Gerard. I know you're a student of history. You're a follower of history. You would probably like this. If you get a chance, go back and watch. I think you'll like this one. You may. I'm sure you probably know about it. You probably heard of the Jane McCrea story. But I've gone off the track here. I've just been babbling for the last 20 minutes or so, just babbling away here, talking to people in the chat. The story is well over with. Yes, Ralph, there is more than enough drama off of YouTube. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes, Tommy. Yeah, and exactly. And I did the same thing. I am not subscribed to a single one of them now. I'm not subscribed to one of them. And unfortunately, they still pop up every now and then. They'll pop up as a recommended in my feed, but I am not subscribed to not a single one of them. And I don't miss it. That's the key. I don't miss it at all. The only time I, the only time I, the only time I even think about them is when it's brought up by others, right? When other people start talking about it. That's the only time it even peaks about. It's not like I miss it at all. It's not like It's all about, um, you know, Don McHugh with the. Oh, I love the avatar. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love the avatar. That's the first I'm seeing of it. That's great. That is great. Muttley, that's awesome. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, Tommy, I don't know if there's anything we could do about that. I think they're always going to show up in our feed because of the people that we associate with might like them or watch them, like that type of stuff. That I think that there's no way to completely avoid unless you block them. I guess you could block the channels. I don't know. I don't know. But is it even worth doing that? I don't even think it's worth doing that. I don't even know. But yeah, Muttley. Oh, that's great. um, yeah. So, and this is an interesting fact. The Godfather analysis shows we did one so far. We're gonna do another tomorrow. They have gotten a lot of views. That one show has gotten 233 views. Now, to me, that's great for me. I don't usually get that. So that shows me that really inspires me. That it shows that people are interested in some real interesting discussion, intellectual discussion. That really, stokes me a bit that we got that many reviews from that initial show. And hopefully it'll continue, as we go along. But but yeah, that's to me that's a positive about YouTube. And Tommy was reviewed on the StreamYards. Tommy's channel was reviewed on the StreamYard channel today. I was watching that and I couldn't believe it. They pulled him up and they started talking about his channel, which was kind of interesting. Well, tell me the thing with the wine show is that I don't think a lot of people are interested in wine. Honestly, I really don't. Um, I just honestly don't think people are that interested in the wine. It's an interest of mine, and that's why I share it, but I don't think it has a huge audience. It doesn't have a natural huge audience that people want to watch a guy tasting wines. You know, there's only a couple of people out there. There's only a couple of channels out there um, that are big. Um, so it's not something that I've seen. Without a doubt, I think most of my followers have nothing to do with wine. Most of my followers are not following me for the wine. Gerard, the next one is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. is the next Godfather show. We're going to do the wedding scene. We're going to do Connie's wedding. So should be interesting. Should be fun. And if you can't make it, no big deal. The replay will be there. Antonella, philosophy, Italian mafia philosophy. Yeah, I mean, I know that Tommy has talked about that, not in a full channel, like on a full show on that, but I know he has talked about it. That. Um, I mean, anything that I talk about actual mafia philosophy would be secondhand knowledge because I was not ever involved in it. I was never involved at all in the inner workings, so I wouldn't be talking from experience. Oh yeah, Adam. Well, thank you, Arms. I mean, I just don't get a lot of. I just don't think I'm getting a lot of subscribers based on the wine content. I think I get a lot more from the stories and the gardening clips and stuff like that. I get a lot of subs based on that stuff, which is fine. I really don't mind at all. I'm just saying, um, and I know that if I was ever on that StreamYard thing, they would probably criticize me and say that why am I called the Wine Guild if I'm doing other things? They would probably say I should just stick to the wine. But this channel's not just about wine; it's about me, right? And the things that I like. So that's why I do different things. um, the keywords, yeah. No, I know, Ralph. I do put keywords in. Um, uh check to see on YouTube Studio where the majority came from. The viewers, yeah, most do not come from subscribers. You're right. They don't. You're right. Absolutely. The shorts do not come from subscribers at all. The shorts gain you subscribers. That's evident. When I put up shorts, I you can see directly the correlation to the additional subscribers you get. You know, so I that's clear. I know that. I don't have a wine, Tommy, for Thursday. No, I don't. So that's another thing. Like it's a lot of effort picking out wine every week and spending the money on buying it. And I never drink the whole bottle. It's just kind of I don't know. It's kind of taxing. It's like work. I have to go find another wine bottle and then I gotta buy it and then I gotta it's just it's a lot of work. So I don't know. I'm gonna still do it. I just don't. I don't. I'm not married. I'm not like religious to it, right? If I miss Thursday here and there, so be it. I don't. It's not a big deal. At least that's my opinion of it. Yeah, Adam. I'm subscribed to some of those folks. I'm subscribed to. I mean, and there really isn't that many. You'd be surprised. There aren't that many. Like there's a couple of guys that are big. They have like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but there's no little guys like me. There's the Wisconsin wine guy. He has about 2,000 subscribers, I think, something like that. But he's been at it a while, and he does pure tastings, and he's good. He's definitely good. I do watch him. But I don't see hey, Muggsy, how are you? I don't see a lot of people coming to me for wine, you know? I think what I'm doing is I'm exposing other people to wine, though. I'm exposing people that traditionally have not been into wine to wine, and which is good. I like doing that. I like exposing new people to it. Yeah, Gene, I was just talking about Wisconsin wine guy. Yeah, he's good. He's a good guy. Um, he's strictly wine, though, right? He's strictly wine. He does his pre-records, does his and you watch him and you get his recommendations and that's great but I can't just do that. That's not me. I need to do more than that. I need to do more variety. The deer shorts, yes, right. The deer shorts, absolutely. Deer shorts do very well, as we know. Yeah, Gina. I mean, like that's my point. He doesn't get a lot of views because there isn't this like online community of wine enthusiasts. It doesn't exist. It's not like the mob tube stuff. It's not like that at all. Like there isn't that. I guess people that are into wine just don't gravitate to YouTube to look for videos on it. Who knows? I don't know. That's just the way it goes. I mean, he's been at it for several years. I don't know how many years he's been at it, but he's been at it for years, and he has maybe 2,000 and change subscribers, something like that. He doesn't have like a boatload of subscribers. But I tell you that the garden videos get a lot of subscribers. You could see that when you go into YouTube Studio, you could see that. Yeah, Antonella, I think he may have done it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to. Yeah, we should hear from him and see if he. And I'd be happy to join in on that. Absolutely. But my knowledge is all secondhand. My knowledge is not firsthand, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm alleging to be an expert on that. Uh, I think in order to be an expert on something, you need to have first person knowledge, and I don't have that. You know, Filipino P. What is that? I don't know what that is, Ralph. Is that the woman that there's some woman? I heard that there's some woman who eats live animals and has like a million subs. Like she eats like live things, like fish. I don't think she might be Japanese though. She's not Filipino, but she eats live fish, like live things she eats, and she has like a million subs. And I'm like, what? What is going on? What is going on here? Yeah, Tommy, I think you could do that show. I think you could do that with friends of ours if they were willing to, even though I would advise them not to. You know what I mean? I think you could do it with those folks, but and the only thing I don't know. I don't think I could add much to that, but I understand the interest in that, Antonella. I get it. Hey, Chris Trock, how are you? Um, yeah, well, thank you, Gene. I appreciate it. I get what you're saying. I get your. I was just explaining myself as to why I'm not married to just doing wine. I think it's just more fun to branch out and do the things that I like. Do the things. I'm not just a wine person, obviously. It's just a hobby. But I, I'm sharing the things that I like with this community. Well, yeah, Tommy, if you want me to do that with you, I'll be happy to do that. I have no problem doing that. I'm just saying I would the disclaimer would be is that I have no firsthand knowledge of that stuff. And I wouldn't want anyone to accuse me of being a bullshitter. I don't have firsthand knowledge of that. First off the ranch. Great channel to watch. He has probably 4 or 5 million subscribers on YouTube. He has something for everyone. It's more like watching a series or a sitcom. Okay. And what is it about? Is there any commonality, Arms? Is there any type of like common theme there, or is it all over the place? Just curious. Or Antonella, yeah, you could co-host. Why not? Sure, that would be cool. You could co-host with Tommy. That would be awesome. I don't know if I'm behind in the chat here. I don't know. I don't know if I'm seeing the comments as quickly as they come in here. I don't know. So who's the Filipino thing, Ralph? What is that about? What is that show about? Filipino, whatever you called it, Filipino P. What is that about? I mean, I guess I could look it up. I just wondered if you knew you could say what it's about real quick. I mean, I like a lot of different variety channels, different like I like the I like animal channels, believe it or not. I do. I like there's this woman called the Bird Nerd, which I like. She makes videos about birds, which birds always interest me. So I watch that channel. There is Early American History channel, which is these it's a young couple and they cook food from the 1700s. They actually cook the food. They're in a cabin and they cook the food the way they give you the recipe and how food was cooked back then. It's very interesting, at least from my perspective. Um, what else do I listen to? I'm just talking about things that I listen to on YouTube or watch on YouTube. Um, just some of the bigger YouTube guys, which I find interesting. One of them is Penguin Zio. I find him interesting. He's just a commentator. He's a young guy. I watch him every now and then. I find him interesting. What else? I don't know. There's a bunch. There's a bunch of them that I watch. None of them are drama. None of them you would be considered to be drama. I'm sorry, none of them would do that. Um, but if I look at my subscriptions, right, it's the first one's Tommy, then Theendu, then Todd Father, then Ralph. Like these are like the main subscriptions. Gerard. You know, these are the people. Early American. Gates Wildlife is pretty cool. Gates Wildlife is a wildlife extermination company. They don't exterminate a lot, but they capture them humanely. It's in Canada, and they video how they remove these raccoons and these raccoon babies and skunks and everything. How they remove them from people's homes without harming them. It's a really cool channel. If you watch it, it's called Gates Wildlife Control. It's pretty cool. At least I like it. There's a channel called Voyager's Wolf Project, and this is a channel that has videos of wolves in the wild. They film these wolves in the wild, and and just share the videos. It's just videos of the wolves walking around. It's pretty cool. And aside from the rest of you guys, like any of you guys that have channels, I always subscribe to them. So those are in my subscription page. They're on what I subscribe to. Metatron is a cool history guy. He has a lot of history stuff. I watch him. That's pretty cool. So there's a lot of stuff on YouTube that's positive, and I enjoy it. Oh, thanks, Tommy. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it as always. I'm going to wrap things up anyway. I've been on for way too long. I've been on for an hour and a half. I mean, this story was a 30-minute story, and I've been on an extra hour just babbling about nonsense. This is not my idea of what I should be doing, but but anyway, listen. I thank everyone for spending some time with me on a Saturday night. I'm glad you did. I hope you learned a little bit about a historical site, an historical event that you may not have known about, and it's a tragedy, but it was also a pivotal moment, and it helped the revolution. It helped the Americans win the revolution. I think you could make that argument. Arm distance. I'm sorry. What do you? I started. Oh, he bought an abandoned resort, and interesting. Okay, that's pretty cool. Thank you, Antonella. I appreciate the appreciate the comment. I really do. I appreciate everyone's comments and hanging out in the chat and talking. It's great. That's it makes the show more enjoyable to everyone if they're interacting and talking. I really appreciate that. So it was a good. I'm glad I decided to come on and chat a little bit with you guys. But again, one last thing, please remember, tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. Godfather show should be fun. And if you can't make it, no problem. Watch the replay. Definitely worth watching the replay. A lot of times you don't want to watch replays because they're long and boring. This one's not going to be. We're just going to talk about specifically that scene, and then we're going to be done and out. We end it. We don't carry on. I mean, we don't interact with the chat that much. Maybe that's something we should try to do more of, because we're more into discussing the things and having you guys listen to our discussion. But we could try to do that more. We could try to interact more. Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. Arms, I definitely will. I will definitely check that out. Off the Ranch. I'm going to check out Off the Ranch. I'm going to talk about I'm going to check out the Filipina P. I'm going to look at all these channels. Off the Ranch. Cool. I mean, that's the way we should do. We should share we should share what we find interesting, right? Makes it easier. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. is going to be on Todd. No, it's not going to be on Todd Father's channel. No, it's on my channel. It's the Godfather. The Godfather. Oh, is Todd Father have something at 2:30? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't seen a notification on that. Let me see. Let me look at his channel right now. Let me see if he has anything up. No, I don't think he has anything up. I know that Todd Father goes back to work tomorrow, so there will be. Chances are there will be a show Monday morning, right? So you guys that tune in the early morning, look forward to that. That's probably going to happen Monday morning. He'll be back to work tomorrow night from his vacation. So that means back to YouTube shows, I think. We'll see. No. No, Adam. No. I'm talking about the Godfather discussion that I have on my channel with Tommy and Thindu. The Godfather movie discussion. That's what I was talking about. So anyway, thank you all once again for joining. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of the evening, relaxful, and a great Sunday. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. as we continue our cultural analysis of The Godfather. So until then, I'm going to say thank you for joining and build the guild, as I always say. Have a great night, everybody. Signing out.